Welcome to the session on women in leadership, to my future self. So I'm going to switch back to my and we'll get going. Right, so I'm Ismini Vasileiou, working at Montfort University, and I'm an associate professor in information, and I also hold the role of associate head in the and informatics. I've been in academia for years now. I've held within the department and the institution, but I have been collaborating quite a lot with external companies as well. So I have done knowledge transfer partnerships with the industry. I've got high involvement with the Chartered Institute of IT, BCI, with other professional bodies as well. So women in leadership is a theme that is becoming a trend nowadays. More and more people are discussing it. There are lots of variety of trainings taking place. Organizations are trying set schemes where they can support women to get into leadership. Today, hopefully, it will not give another set of ideas of how you can set up a thing, but it will take a step back from what is happening this and we assist both organizations and women themselves to actually understand what needed and what we need to do to start providing those solutions. The national statistics know that there's still a pay gap. We know that women are employed not in leadership roles but across the industry. Degree that we would expect them to be at the far less, and instead of improving the situation, amongst all age gradually dropping and declining. For the age groups under the age of 40, the gender pay gap for full-time employees are close to zero, and among the 49 years old, the gap increased over time as well. So something is happening there. Everybody's taking an active role to improve that gender gap. However, why do we still see those mistakes? Why do we need to keep analyzing that again and again? And I would really put this question out there at the beginning of this presentation, because we really need to start thinking, how much further analysis do we need to do? We've done it for a number of years now. There's a variety of schemes, variety of training opportunities. Every employer organization is looking at those statistics. We collect them nationally, we collect them internationally, but why do we keep doing the analysis rather than providing the actual solution? So the challenge, I'm just double checking that everything is fine. Okay. Can hear me, which is fine. So the challenges that we are facing, the attitudes. So what is the attitude of the women? Quite often we find phrases being used in the working environment that if you speak up, if you share your knowledge, if you share your opinion, you've got attitude. Okay, this is a very standard phrase that is being used in the workplaces, and we know that women have to, demonstrate that it's not just attitude. It's me as a person. I know what I'm talking about, and I'm sharing those opinions. We hear very often, "Oh, she knows it all." Okay, but we never hear those phrases being used for men. We have many women who are carers, either when it comes to very young children, or it could be any other type of caring responsibility, elderly parents, any other type of relative. And building an alliance is also a big challenge, and we don't talk about that very often. There's so many training sessions and events taking place and networking, and what we notice all the time in all those events is women trying to support women. But I don't know about you, but in my experience, to build an alliance with women within an organization, easy. They tend to be a bit more competitive rather than supporting each other. And this comes from the 3 bullet points above, because every woman is trying to address and understand, accept quite often those challenges and how they can overcome those challenges. And quite often we see that women are struggling to support each other and see that we're all on the same boat. Of course, we've got the imposter syndrome. Women will not often talk about what they have achieved. They will keep things inside them. We've got a tendency to keep going until we explode one day if we find it very, very difficult. And that is also making things a bit harder quite often. Re-entering the workforce is another big challenge we're facing. If we've been on maternity leave, or if we're trying to have a change in our career, quite often we'll be asked questions that might make us feel very uncomfortable. I have seen situations where people have not been offered a job because they're very young, and the employer assumed they will go have a family, and then they might not do the job at high level. You know, the quality of the work will not be what is expected, which is, again, is a myth, isn't it? We know that we're very good at delivering any job we have been given. So lots of challenges there that we're called to address. We are called to accept quite often. And how can we change what we feel and how we see things, but also how the rest of the organization sees us. So we need to start from trusting our own voice. If we see something is wrong, we need to speak up. We need to say it. We need to share it. There's no harm in that, about sharing our feelings. Good. So you can see everything. Sorry about that. Just keep checking the chat on another screen. So let's be a bit reflective about how we have achieved so far. We know the challenges. They've been out there for quite some time. Let's start thinking about what we have developed so far. So we have specific training for women in tech, and we can address the challenges that women are being called to understand their environment. They are being called to come up with strategies how women can move up the ladder. Okay, so all that training that we build and all that training that is out there at the moment is about women. Okay, how we can change our working environments. There's a lot of unconscious bias training taking place. Most of it these days is online. And of course, we appreciate that the COVID situation has affected the situation. But let's see things up until when we had the pandemic. Most of the unconscious bias training was taking place online. People would have to, employees would have to go watch some videos and then possibly take a test. And the training companies that have developed the sessions, they were very adamant that this is a very good way of understanding what unconscious bias is and removing that bias from ourselves. So that's what is happening at the moment. Lots of mentoring schemes. We build mentoring schemes within organizations, mentoring schemes with professional bodies, or any other type of campaigns that is out there. So getting either women or men to mentor and support the working force has been proved to be very, very important. So that's what's happening. But how can we eliminate the gap? By widening the gap. Why do we keep talking about train someone to be a leader, but we do not offer any awareness training? So if I'm a junior, developer, let's say, and I want to move up the ladder, become a senior developer, I need to go attend a leadership training program. I need to do my unconscious bias training. I need to find a mentor, and I need to move up the ladder at some point. Let's flip the coin. Let's see from another perspective. How about the people who've already been in the organization? They have moved up the ladder. How do they understand? How do they appreciate how to embrace us, how to empower us, and give us equal opportunities as everybody else? To date, I have not seen this happening a lot. Maybe in some organizations, maybe as part of some management courses, but again, it's not a real awareness training, especially when it comes to a sensitive topic such as getting women into a leadership role. When it comes to flexible working, it's always been seen as like, you've got these caring responsibilities. How can you carry on doing the job and at the same time either work from home or work online or going part-time? So it will automatically have a negative effect on your progression. It will have a negative effect on your morale. And the organizations, again, are developing those schemes where women will have to adapt to their working environment. This is your job. This is what you've got to do. By working from home, that's how you have to do it. Again, we need to flip the coin. We need to see it from a different perspective. Flexible working is not just for women. It could be for anyone with caring responsibilities. It could be for anyone that has different needs as a person. It's not just caring responsibilities. It's that those personal needs that someone might have. Some people prefer to work from home and they can be even more productive. So how can we see things from that different perspective? How can we start being more inclusive, and instead of getting everyone else to adapt with what we think is the norm, try to change the culture, shift that culture, and become more diverse. And by doing all that, we can increase the awareness on the opportunities. If managers become aware of the diversity of the group that they've got, if the managers become aware of different types of flexible working they can offer, and the job can still be done, and it can be done at much higher quality, then that will create more opportunities for women. Today's event is Digital Women. I've been in other events as well, Women in STEM. I have either set up those events or I have joined other events, and I could count the amount of men on the fingers of one hand. It would be an event with 100 people attending. It would be 5-6 men. They were either dragged by colleagues, or they had a very genuine interest in understanding women and leadership. So again, we've got to see things from a different perspective. We need to stop offering training to women. I think women, we know what we want to achieve. We know where we want to progress, not because we're all ambitious equally as the men. Who doesn't want to progress? And we need to start flipping the coin, and we need to start getting men to drive the change rather than us. You see, in academia, for example, we've got the Athena Swan scheme. It's about recognizing equality and diversity. I don't know if you're aware of it, but again, it's women driving that change. So the question that arises from that is, where are men that accept and value women? Athena Swan and any other EDI scheme is about women adapting into a working environment, and we do need to accept those gender differences. Things we have heard in the past is, oh, a woman at the leadership role, she's very emotional and she cries. Well, I would reply to that and say, actually, having empathy is not a bad thing. And yes, women might cry more than men, but again, isn't this a stereotype? We don't know how many men cry. We don't know how many women cry. It might sound like a very simple example, but if you see it in the bigger context, how we stereotype how women are and how we stereotype how men are, then that is where it's causing all those gaps we've got in training. And when we do the unconscious bias, it's focusing more on key roles and very generic, characteristics and stereotypes, rather than going deeper into the fact that as genders, we are all different, and there's no problem with that. So how can you reach the ceiling? We always say, there's no sky limit. You can go as far as you like. But in reality is this happening? We're still here, 2020, a COVID pandemic. We've set up so many schemes, and we're still discussing about the same issues again and again. And please, do not take this as a complaint, but I think we are reaching a stage where we need to actually see the change happening. We need to see those solutions rather than that statistical analysis, as I said at the beginning. So within our organizations, what can we do? We can start asking these questions. Where is the dialogue taking place? Is it again a women's network? Is it again a mentoring scheme? Where is the dialogue taking place that will actually change the culture, that will shift the culture and start having impact and results? Who sets that high limit? Who says this is how far you can go? I would say dream big and achieve your dreams within your organization and beyond that. When it comes to job criteria, the way we write applications and job vacancies nowadays, even in 2020, it's all about the skill set that you've got to have. You need to understand, for a junior role, for example, the SQL or the specific programming language, such a degree with such results, the references. But where is all about the passion and enthusiasm and the willingness? How can you employ someone if they only have those technical skills and they're missing the important soft skills? And I'm not saying those are the skills that women have. These are the skills anyone should and could have. But we are missing them out from the job criteria, even in 2020. And I would urge the employers to start looking at those criteria, to emphasize them and make them stand out, because they will definitely get more applications coming through. And it's not about the technical skills. If you've got the passion, if you've got the enthusiasm and the willingness, you will do a far better job. You will reach higher up. You will be more motivated. And that's what we need to see in the workforce. So thoughts for senior management. Who would you like to be? So we've got C3PO and R2D2. So I'm a big fan of Star Wars. I'm sure you can tell that from these slides. So C3PO always has something to say. He's very talkative in every single movie, but when is C3PO actually providing a solution? Whereas R2D2 doesn't say much, but when he talks, he's always on the point, always has a solution. Again, the question I put forward at the beginning of this presentation, why do we need to still discuss those statistics? When are we actually try and make that change? Do we need to be a C3PO in our organization, or do we want to be an R2D2? So we need to start working on those solutions, not on just collecting the data and the statistics. We need to change the way we perform. We need to change the way we see an organization and the future of it. We need to say, this is what we want to get at. How can we do it? And let's start providing those solutions. We've got the data. We've seen the data. They've been out there for a number of years. So to shape your organization is to lead by example. When we build mentorship programs, they will have to promote diversity, be inclusive, and empower women. So it's not just about getting a woman to mentor a woman. It has to be based on the skills that you're trying to achieve, the skills that you're missing, and you want to make them part of your professional profile. As a senior management, when you adapt the observational learning in your training, you can really transform the organization by creating more diverse and inclusive behaviors. There should be a culture where people should be able to speak up. Now, there's always a fine line when it comes to a speak up culture, because quite often people can be accused of being too direct, but once that culture starts changing and people become more open, then we start seeing they're becoming less defensive. It's not something that can happen overnight, but if we take that approach of the observational learning in our training schemes, then we can really start gradually changing the culture of our organization. So we do need to understand, recognize, and address the bias, not just look at it in terms of numbers, but actually understand those characteristics that we've got within our organization. So how can we move forward then? The next set of slides is some suggestions about things we can actually do within organization to start making that change. Leave your comfort zone. I would say this would go for both women who want to achieve a leadership role, but also for that senior management who are setting the scenes, who are setting the rules and the procedures within the department or the organization as a whole. Quite often, even for them, it will be very beneficial if they leave their comfort zone and they start looking at their workforce and how they can utilize all the skills they've got and all the people that they have in that environment. Women should try to empower women a bit more, I would say. Although we've got the mentoring schemes and all the training schemes, I do find that as women, we are very competitive. We should be allies a bit more. And how do you empower a woman? You can achieve this in many ways. You can achieve this by networking, attending events like this one, Twitter, social media. Go find those women who didn't have an easy way up, but they have struggled and they have adopted the reflective approach into breaking those stereotypes. Build and embrace empathy. I would say that's one of the key themes that really need to start coming out in any training course that we are designing or within any organization. This is something I still don't see. Women are still afraid to show emotions, and equally, men are afraid to show emotions. And we know that men are afraid to show emotions for centuries now, because if you cry like a little girl. So by changing how we are perceived, I think it's going to make a wider good to the society, because men can start feeling more comfortable as well. So it's not just about women anymore. It has to be about men as well. So the leadership will need traits of both genders to be successful. You can have someone, not a woman, not a man, it doesn't matter, someone who's more emotional, who has more empathy. Then you may have someone who can be more directive. And those two together, they can work really, really well, because they have a different set of skills, and they can really empower the groups and the teams within the organization. And quite often, what really works well these days is sharing roles. When you find people with different sets of skills and they can share a leadership role without having impact on income, of course, because you recognize both leaders, if they co-chair a meeting, if they senior managers, and having the same level of responsibility, but bring in those different traits, those different skills that they have. So inclusion and caring can really produce innovation. The more we care and the more inclusive we make our staff feel, an organization can go even further. It can become far more innovative. Whereas if you keep looking for the same traits, if you keep looking for the same skill sets, organization will grow by a more steady way, and it will not become as that innovative, because you have a skills force that you haven't used within your organization. You haven't even made an attempt to understand what they can offer based on their personal circumstances, their personal ambitions, because we do see people as stereotypes. If you've got children, you cannot work late. If you've got children, you cannot go on a trip. And all those are myths, are stereotypes. And this is what I would start looking a bit deeper within my department as a senior leader. So if I end the show and a bit of time for some questions, I do see non-binary people indeed, and this is why I started using gender at some point. It is about genders. It's not just men or women. We need to start bringing in all those types of different genders as well. If you've got any questions and you would like to pop them on the chat, more than happy to. Yes, apprenticeships is a fantastic example. I was leading my previous job. I was leading the degree apprenticeships development, and it was one of my key roles to actually start bringing all those different skills within the organizations. Any other questions? I think we've got another 15 minutes. There you go. Yes, Kirsten, I think it is a bit share. Oh, I have been told this about coding, indeed. The first time I was told that was when I was a student in the labs, and a classmate came next to me and he said, "Would you like some help?" Because I'm girl. That's why he came to help me. I never said I want some help. How do you shut them down? It's interesting, isn't it? Because no matter what you say, it will go back to the stereotype. Oh, you've got attitude. I'm trying to come up with a line. You see, I tend to come up with a line there and then. I can be very creative, but when you put me on the spot like this, I would say I would just be honest. I think I would ask for evidence. Depends, of course, how much time you've got and where you are. I would ask for evidence on why he's saying that. It is very male dominated. I think it's still very male dominated, but it doesn't mean that coding is for men only. And this is why education is very important. Oh yes, I have sassy attitude as well. I tend to blame my Greek DNA sometimes. It gets me away with things. But I think it goes down to education. I've got 2 children, the 10 and 7, and they came back from home. As you saw on my slides, I'm a big Star Wars fan. And my eldest came back home a few years ago, and the first thing he said to me, "Oh, you're not the normal girl because you like Star Wars and you don't like pink, and you should be playing with Barbie and all that." You know, my own children. So to get comments like that about coding or Star Wars or anything, it does come from education. So the presentation today was about what we can do within our organization, but there's another level of things we can do when we're educating pupils, the next generation. It has to go all the way down to primary schools to change those cultures and change those attitudes. And not just children, though. We need to educate society. And how we can do this? TV can assist what we show to our children, or the shows, or the kids series that they're watching. How can we start changing what the children observe every single day? Yes, it's interesting, isn't it? About Athena Swan. So I'm still passionate about Athena Swan. I'm still leading it, even in my new institution. I just changed a job, and whilst you're doing it, it does come across as a tick box exercise, and it's always women involved in those committees. And what I faced over the years, because I've done it so many times, the comments I was getting back were things like, "Oh, we've always done it this way. It works fine. Let's just twist things a bit. And yeah, I'm going to offer you 2 days off, or you can work from home so you can raise your children." That's not flexible working. That's again what you're offering me as you know, as a woman, as a mom, so I can fit in with your organization. It doesn't go beyond that to start changing that culture. So I think there's definitely a role for those schemes. And Athena Swan at the moment is doing a lot of changes. We are working to change and upgrade the procedures and what we expect to see. And this is why professional staff came on board. In the previous years, it wasn't, professional staff was not part of the application. But again, if you start changing the culture and you see Athena Swan or any other scheme really as changing the culture rather than what can we offer that woman within our department, I think we can start seeing some change. And quite often it does depend on the department. It does depend on the institution and how they see things. Yes, it's all about the toys. Yes, yeah, and the children. More than happy if anyone wants more information about Athena Swan. More than happy to have another chat. You've got my information, email, Twitter. Feel free to contact me because I'm very passionate about changing that culture finally. Because Athena Swan and other schemes, again, it's all about the statistics. So let's see the bar charts, let's see the pie charts, and take it from there. How can we help those 5 women? Which it should be more than that. It's not just about those 5 women within your department. Excellent, thank you. Any other comments? Not a problem, absolutely my pleasure. Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you for the positive feedback. Anna, yes, and this is why I said during the presentation that quite often we're not allies. We end up being very competitive because we both want to go further up the hierarchy, and not because we hate each other, but because of the environment and because we're not recognized. It seems like a battle to go up the ladder and find that leadership opportunity. So quite often that's why there's so much friction between women. So yes, I have faced it in the past. I've tried everything really, from ignoring it at the beginning to becoming more direct and more feisty. I'm not going to say any of these work better. Everything has pros and cons. I think it really depends on the person you've got in front of you. But what I would say is that when you find your own voice, when you know who you are and what you want to achieve, it will be recognized eventually. And you don't have to go to fight the other female leader with dialogue. I think dialogue is very, very important. It might take longer, but it does have results rather than putting in grievances or arguing. It does have a very positive effect in the end. Having patience and keep demonstrating that you're not there to take anyone's place. You're there to work with everyone, no matter if they're men, women, trans, or any other gender, as someone else said. Yes, they are. Dialogue and perseverance, yes, indeed. Advice, yes, that's a very good question. So I've always worked in very, very male-dominated environments, and I have heard things like, I don't apologize enough, I don't say thank you enough. Sometimes it's the fact that I'm a woman and I have to do it, or sometimes it's just because I'm Greek and I'm too direct. So it really depends. The culture sometimes plays a role, but even in my own culture as a woman, you've got to be very apologetic. I think, again, it takes time, but one thing we've got to stop is apologizing. So your voice will be heard when you stop apologizing. And again, you insist that, well, this is my opinion. You can reply to them when they say, you know it all, or you've got attitude or whatever. You can challenge them with questions, with evidence, because quite often when men make such negative comments, it's just to show off and just to show their authority rather than understanding where they're coming from and what they mean. So I would reply to them with a question, if they say, oh, you know, they don't pay attention to you, whatever, I would insist with clear voice, without getting upset or emotional, just to demonstrate that this is my opinion, this is what I believe, and have the evidence, and this is how the strategy, for example, could work further. It takes time, but gradually you do gain respect that way. No worries. That's a very good question. The killjoy. You see, I tend to stick to my opinion. If they cannot change my opinion, I always say to them, let's have dialogue. Just because you disagree, it doesn't mean I have to agree with you. Let's have dialogue. Show me your evidence. I'll show you my evidence. If by the end of this dialogue, if by the end of this discussion, I'm the one who's changing her opinion, it's absolutely fine. I have no problems saying, actually, you're right. No matter if it's a woman or a man or whoever is in front of me. So I would say, stick to your opinion. Don't just change your opinion and your thoughts just because someone else said so. Give them time to show you the evidence. Give them time to listen to what you're trying to say. And then, you know, who knows, they might change their views as well. Yes. It takes time, but I can promise you it can happen. And hopefully, I do want to see these events. That's a personal view, I think, but within my organization, I feel like I have been heard that we need to see from a different perspective now. We spend enough time analyzing women, you know, we need to see it from the different angle. We need to see how can we create awareness across staff, not just to, you know, create events for women where they feel that they belong, where they feel they can be mentored or they can network. Just create an event and anyone can go. And, you know, as you said before, and as it was on my slides, it should not be about gender. It should be about those opportunities, about those career developments that we all crave. It doesn't matter on our gender at all. Fantastic comments you've all made. It's really, really good. What advice I would give about the imposter syndrome? Believe in yourself. It's not easy to find that courage and believe in yourself and dream big. No, actually, we can all dream big, but how far will we go into, you know, making those dreams reality? I'm gonna be honest here. I'm gonna be the same. When I write my promotion applications, I'm not very good talking about myself. I'm much better mentoring others and getting all those skills out and making them standing out. So this is where mentoring might be needed. Now, again, you don't need a woman mentor, you need a mentor, and you need to identify who that mentor can be. It can either be a woman who has been through a similar path with you, or it could be a man, or it could be someone that knows you really well, they understand your behavior, they understand your personality, and they can get, you know, the best out of you. It comes with training. We need to train ourselves to be able to speak about ourselves and say, look what I have achieved. Look how good I am in what I'm doing. Not because I'm something special, but because I work really hard, I believe in it, and I'm passionate about it. Yes, from the show off. It's about understanding and valuing what we have all achieved. So I think in your situation, Emily, maybe some mentoring and networking could be very beneficial. Identify others that might be feeling the same, but they have overcome those issues in a way. Any other comments, questions? Thank you, Emily. Any other questions, comments? Anything you would just like to share with the group? I do hope we can start making some real change now, not just for women, but for any gender, that we stop talking about gender differences in such a way. I don't know about you, but I think, you know, 20 years now that I've kind of been involved in this kind of job and field, I am tired. So why are we still talking about it? Why do we still do all this analysis? Why are we not equal? When are we going to be equal? Yeah, these are the questions that I would take back into my organization. I think I would stop saying, let's do some analysis nowadays. I would go back and address that issue. This is the issue. We've got to address it. We've seen the data. Let's move on. Let's start making that change. And it doesn't matter if it's one person feeling this way or 10 or 15. It really doesn't matter. If we can change the experience for that one person, then that change can bring another 10 who can contribute to the organization, because they will have that set of skills and that motivation because they feel valued and recognized. Any other comments, questions? No, Samantha, I am not, but if you want to drop me an email, if I can help in any way, more than happy. More than happy. In case you don't have my email, I will put it in the chat for everyone. And my Twitter handle is this. For networking, I tend to go with professional bodies when it comes to networking. It's a very good start. Thank you, Samantha. Yes, please do drop me an email and we can see what we can do. Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of networking, I think the professional bodies is a very good start for anyone, because every professional body these days is recognizing all those issues that we are facing. So all the professional bodies are doing something. So by reaching out to to them, you can definitely find people in similar situations. Other things is the WISE campaign. I don't know if you are aware of it, the Women in Science and Engineering, and there's women in engineering as well, WISE. So I will put all this on the chat. So WISE and WISE are brilliant when it comes to networking and mentoring. Sometimes it does help to start networking with people outside the organization, and this is why I think going with a professional body, it can offer you that more open-minded approach as well. Whereas when we stay within the organization, we get mentored by people within the organization. We're networking with people within the organization. We don't have this spherical approach to things, and we don't bring too many new ideas, especially if the organization, you know, is not that advanced. So I would approach those professional bodies whys and wheres as well, depending on your field. If you're in cyber, there's a cyber group for women in cyber. So loads and loads of schemes are there. Or what you can do is you can just Google someone. If they're, you know, if you find someone, Google, and you can approach that person and say, I'm looking for some advice. And I'm sure many of us are more than happy to be approached that way. The Career Apprenticeships DMU, we've got lots of apprenticeships. Again, you can drop me an email if you want to find out more, or you can go on our website. We do offer degree apprenticeships in lots of areas. No worries, Casey. Any other comments? Yes, very good. Yeah, Kirsten, yeah. Very good point as well. It's very awkward that I'm on the screen and I cannot see any of you. Any other comments, questions? Thank you, Maria. Thank you. Yes, it's not easy to have those discussions. I do appreciate that. I've been there working in a purely male-dominated environment. Yes. Well, Samantha, you know, if the organization can benefit from something like that, or you would like to follow it up, we can certainly arrange something, a group of us maybe, and we can do a more live question and answer session. Action research on women in tech leadership. Kirsten, I can definitely find you some information on that. There's a lot out there about gender and leadership, especially in tech, which is, you know, very male dominated. So I can definitely find, I don't know if I can see your email from your profile. Yeah. I'll see if I can do that. And I can definitely send it over. Brilliant. Or drop me an email to remind me, just in case. Any other comments, questions, things you would like to share? No? I'll wait another 5 minutes if anyone has anything they would like to ask. So I believe there's another session starting soon. Or is there a bit of a break? I can't remember now. I will try to see if I can find your email through your profile, or send me an email. I will send you the information as well. Brilliant. I will copy and paste that. Thank you. Brilliant. Okay. Thank you, Kirsten. Tips. There's a campaign. It's called He for She. I don't know if you heard of it. It's really good. And this is it started a few years ago, and this is what made me start thinking that we as women, we can be allies, we can empower each other. But what is the men's role? I think start creating events for men to understand unconscious bias, to understand diversity. It will be far more useful, and make those managers to get training and awareness about that. So I think we've reached a stage where all the training on unconscious bias and this type of events, about women, I think we've done enough. I think we need to start looking ahead now and start embracing the other part of the world, the men, and how they can become allies. So we just need to change a bit how we address those issues and how we sell those events, so we don't end up with the same women again and again attending all those events. Yes, Maria, I will add you on the list as well. If you're in academia, there's also the women in higher education, do look it up. It's fantastic network. We had an event last week, and we do a lot of research about especially the impact of COVID at the moment on women. So if you're in academia, when is the network you need to join? So I will just put this on the chat as well. So if you search for when equality, you can find the group. It's very good. Samantha will make a note of your network group as well. And I'm sure others will do as well. Yes, Samantha, yeah. Excellent. Any final comments? Anything else you think I can help with? But feel free to send me an email or tag me on Twitter. You can contact me anyway, or LinkedIn. More than happy to support anyone further. I'm not scared doing provocative talks and challenging ideas and views of the senior management. More than happy to support anyone. Thanks, everyone. Thank you all. Oh, sorry. Why your children call you? I think I'm going to leave the call so we can join the next session. Bye, everyone, and thanks very much for attending.